And seems like the round is ready to go, and indeed it's actually going to be that double DPS once again here for Koord.
As expected, I would say, for Koord Narwhals, this is something that they often run. I mean, we haven't seen them waver from this approach at all for the most part, and already we're seeing Singularity start things off very hot, taking it right to Koord Narwhals. They are already 2 kills on the board as Singularity floating back over to the point. They will get control very early on.
This is exactly what they want to do with this type of style. Going in aggressive, finding those early picks will enable them to do just so. But in the meantime, Jealous does find 1 kill, so that is a good start, but needs to go for more because, yes, while you get more out of the equation, the staying power is definitely still going to be there. But the Rocket Barrage will be charged up. These two small fake won't get anything else for now, but Emma Winston has managed to find that kill in that time window.
Yeah, they've got him surrounded. They're going to lose out on a lot of score here in order to get this done, as Obling just hasn't been able to get much charge. He goes over for Emma. Winston does find the kill, and now he's under pressure, but he's going to get a lot of healing from the Coalescence, and this is the turning point now for Singularity as they get a couple of kills themselves. And as we know, as soon as they start turning the tides, it's all over. Singularity hanging on there despite a few really nice picks starting the fight off with Koord Narwhals.
And the scary thing was the fact that Obling left alive meant that he managed to find quite a bit of charge. Should have that Graviton coming up relatively soon. And yes, Jealous did find that damage. Should have another Rocket Barrage, but he needs to be more effective with it. And even Mono, scouting out the opposition, is onto the side. But KSP again finding Lind.
And he's really close to that Dragon Strike, in a nice position to pull that out. I expect him to go ahead and throw it out. There it is, actually, as it goes right out onto the point. Nerf gonna take so much damage right away as Fall is under pressure now as well. He will go down himself, and it's Koord Narwhal surging out to the point, trying to get this flip. This time, they might be able to pull it off. They have to find the kill onto this Moira, though. Jealous does find that for himself, and Singularity just biding their time, waiting to just go ahead and contest. And Mono, oh, I thought he was, for a moment there, I thought he was actually gonna sneak his way in, but they found him out. And they do get the flip, 89% though on the board for Singularity.
That's going to be extremely difficult for them to hold on to because they pretty much have to win all the different fights left for this first round of Ilios right now. On the other side, it will have the Graviton, they'll have the Earth Shadow as well as the Rally, and gonna prove to be very difficult here for Koord Narwhals. The self-destruct was launched up into the air. However, Otter, unable to find too much work off of it, meant that they will still look for something else, but it's gonna be the Graviton eaten up Omnom for Otters, as we'll have Jealous find a kill off of the Rocket Barrage, and now potentially it will be once again Koord Narwhals winning.
Coalescence almost ready for Lind, though. They can hang on here. They opt to pull it out right away, already putting damage into Otter's mech, trying to take him out of that quickly as he pulls back. Gonna receive some healing. Jealous still untouched here on the side, poking out damage onto Molf, who's gonna lose his mech, I think, as well, and he does indeed, but still kills in favor, of course, of Singularity as they're going back around, looking to take out the Zenyatta, and they find the kill. Now it's just the barrage from Jealous, as Singularity already have control of the point. Overtime will tick, and they took the fight, so that's 100-35 as they take the first round.
And even though they did see that Graviton not quite go through, didn't really matter in the end. Singularity still finding the kills, still fighting those small advantages, make sure they do get the point back in their favor, and that was the big danger for Koord Narwhals, of course, after you give up so much percentage on that first round. Just gonna be down and out, and you will have to win out on every single team fight. But now, to move on to Well, we might see some adjustments on both sides.
All right, here's gonna be Fall on the Pharah, and we have Obling on the Hanzo, so they're gonna be going straight for a 2-2-2, it looks like. And pretty much the same thing on the other side. However, it's gonna be Tracer as opposed to the Hanzo. KSP gonna be, I bet, hard flanking pretty much throughout, trying to put some pressure onto the supports and force them out away from that barrier to allow Fall to kind of go up overhead and potentially push the Orisa out in front of the barrier, and they can maybe find that first kill onto the tank.
Especially since on the other side, of course, we'll see Koord still on that Winston, looking to do just that. Nerfed already, dropping pretty low. Will be kept alive by the rest of his team. The support was there, but Jealous does manage to find that Hanzo in the background, and now, with Nerf going down, Jealous gets another onto Fall. We might see Koord win this one out and get that first point cap.
The Tracer worked out so well for them, too. KSP just worked his way around the side, played the edge, just cornered very well as well, and they were able to easily take that fight as he dished out a ton of damage alongside Jealous. And just slowly poking was Koord and Otter, just making sure that they stay safe. Now a little bit of an adjustment, nerfed Wolf. Wolf was already on the Diva, and nerfed is now onto the Winston to apply some vertical pressure as they go out. There's a stick from KSP, and he finds 2 kills.
And now with those final 3 kills overall going in favor of Koord Narwhals, we'll see whether or not they can once again win out another team fight and do exactly what their opponents did to them in that first round. Already at 40% towards that cap. We'll have Molfig reset, look to regroup with the rest of his team, and now the big problem for them is the fact that they will be losing out in terms of those percentages as well. Obling will making another adjustment for them. Now we'll look to contest that Tracer duel.
Going head on. Apply directly to the forehead here as Koord Narwhals. Barrage ready for Jealous. And he's looking for fall on the side, just taking that Pharah out of play so that they can just stall out this ground fight. Koord holding onto the Primal Rage. There's a self-destruct over the top, and it's Koord already into the backline, forcing out the Transcendent so early. Jealous did fall in the meantime, though.
As we did see, Obling even getting 2 of his own. Emma Winston does come in with the Resurrect, but might be a 2. Advantage.
Here's Mono up top, just throwing out some damage for himself, getting ever closer to that Valkyrie. But as they got the flip here, they do have a couple of options looking toward this next fight, but they don't want to have this last too long, because as the sound barrier becomes ready for Join Voice Please, they're going to be able to sustain, they're going to be able to potentially have that be used as a momentum shifter in this next engagement. He's already at 90%. And KSP holding onto this pulse bomb, going to be looking to stick it onto this Winston, but forced to pull back for now.
And even that Zenyatta will be a prime target, but it's going to be Otter going in. The pulse bomb does go through, however, not going to be too effective in the meantime, though. Jealous will manage to find fall out of the sky, even gets Mono in return, and now as it will look to close this one out once again, might just be Koord Narwhals winning well.
Oh, Jealous up top. Barrage ready, but they get the flip. And as we see the re-engage from Singularity with this barrage that I just mentioned, I mean, they could easily just soak them in rockets as soon as they try to come back in here. 98%, we're going to see the leap come out. Oh, Lind actually finding the opening pick. That's a big one. Fall actually opens up with the barrage of his own, but he gets taken down immediately.
And now as the sound barrier did go through, we'll see Mono follow. Koord rampaging about with that Primal Rage. Will get 2 kills for his team. Now looking to close this one out. Molfig dropping really low, still has that suit. Jealous though, they want to take out Obling, and now with the rocket barrage, the D-suit as well as the kill secured. Lind does not manage to get onto the point. And Koord keeping this one close, now going to be a 1-1 score.
Now we see them equalized here. Remember, the loser of this entire series is completely out of the tournament. So a lot of stress on this one for sure for these two teams as they're looking to keep their playoff hopes alive. And moving on to Ruins, this is where you would expect to see some sniper play, but so far for both of these teams, we haven't gotten that just yet. Instead, though, Jealous and KSP, oh, here we go. Now we're going to be getting it. So Jealous onto the Tracer, KSP now moving on to the Widowmaker, and Singularity pulling out once again that 3-0-3 composition that won them the first round on Lighthouse.
And I'm curious to see how it's going to really work out, because if they want to set up Obling back onto the Widowmaker to contest the likes of KSP, that's going to set them back overall with their composition. They're looking to go for an off angle. Rest of Koord Narwhals, though, will be ready for them, as we'll see Molfig trying to go in, trying to get a pick up to Emma Winston. He secures it with Nerf, as he will be swinging away, and now we will have to look for KSP to find those angles. He does get 1 kill onto Mono, but overall, we'll just see Singularity run all over their opponents.
And with this Widowmaker, if he's not finding these picks onto the squishy targets quickly, that Widowmaker is just not going to have the value of, you know, a lot of different other options that they could go for. So I expect their DPS to probably make some adjustments to what they're playing here, or else they're going to have a really tough go of it trying to get back in there. So there it is. We see the Junkrat, the Pharah swap, both coming in. as they look to re-engage here. It might take some time as, of course, this Brawl comp, we know how good it is at sustaining. We already see Lind at 60%. That could easily go back up, especially when you think about how much damage they're about to soak from these two projectile classes.
And even Obling did manage to find quite a bit of charge himself, but it is going to be a 1-for-1. Emma Winston just not having the time of his life, but it is going to be KSP with a double kill for himself. In the end, though, looking at a Singularity charging up so much for themselves. Even Obling having the Graviton right now, still staying alive means that, yeah, small things going well in favor of Koord Narwhals, but not quite enough. And now, as we will see them look to go in and re-engage, with so much available for Singularity, it's gonna be looking good, but these are the type of picks you're looking for if you're Koord Narwhals.
Yeah, take that, Lucio, out of the equation very quickly. We already see them putting pressure now onto the side as well, as Graviton, like we mentioned, is down, or is ready for Obling. He's waiting for that defense matrix to be down and not gonna have that opportunity as KSP takes him out. Koord Narwhals surging forward. They're gonna take Nerfed out as well, and they will take this objective after finally getting the mech down and the Diva along with it, and that is it. They do get the flip with this, what is essentially a counter composition directly to this 303, but still, this 303 could easily take the next fight if they're able to execute properly with Earth Shatter, Graviton. They're gonna have Sound Barrier pretty soon as well. I mean, so many options to sustain in this next fight, long enough to get a shift of momentum in their favor.
But KSP now pulling out that tire is gonna find a double kill on both Obling and Motto. Key picks for this team of Koord Narwhals as they will look to move on forward, race towards their opponent's spawn, looking for any late kills. Won't be able to find anything else, but they still only used one ultimate to push them away, and as they will look to equalize that score, as we did see Singularity still claim 82%, so one more good team fight in their favor might be it for Koord.
That was good ultimate efficiency on that last one. Now we'll see if they can get the same value out of the barrage. Here we go. Graviton goes down, might catch Koord, and it catches Jealous that the self-destruct does come down, but they still have these guys pretty low. No barrage going to be available for them as we see Join Voice Please with the Valkyrie trying to keep everybody else alive, and he goes for the res. Not going to get it though, as he was attempting to sneak it. Earthshatter ready for Nerf. Not going to use it just yet. Doesn't really have to, as they are going to get their flip that they need, and also hang on to some of those really valuable ults that they could use to secure this fight. 90% right now, 10 seconds away from winning, and Graviton still available. Or sorry, not Graviton, the Earthshatter still available.
And even now with the Sound Barrier available from Mono, we have to see Jealous or someone of the sort to really get potentially an early pick. He gets it onto fall, a big one.
Oh!
And now the Rocket Barrage obliterates the enemy, getting a triple off of it too, and pushing Molfig away. And talk about value ults.
Yeah, between their two DPS, I mean, they have just blown away this 303 a few times here. Re-engaging Singularity, they actually have the 213 come out instead, as we see Obling swap off of the Zarya. We already talked about what that can mean for this composition. Over to a Widowmaker instead, looking for those opening picks, give them that advantage that they're looking for, as he's looking to try to put some pressure onto the Pharah. Here comes the Riptire around the corner.
Ooh, but Join Please rather goes down. Sound Barrier was popped already. It is a 2-for-1. Things are looking good for Singularity as Nerf claims another kill himself. So as the Earthshatter holds onto it now, finally commits, gets the charge onto Koord. And with it, the kill, Obling securing one himself onto KSP. Only Emma Winston left around the point. Now finally Join Voice Please charging back in with that Lucio, but it's not quite gonna be enough. Overtime is there. Jealous needs to push this one through.
And they get it done. It looks like they're coming back onto the point. They're going to lose the mech. Running back onto the objective as well is going to be a Primal Raging Corn, diving all around, trying to stay alive. But still, the healing, the sustain that we get out of Singularity, it's going to be so difficult. Yes, they find the kill onto the Widow, but you have to do so much more than that to be able to turn the tides of this composition. Singularity take the first map.
But at the very least for Koord, they kept it very competitive, very close overall. And with that turnaround, especially from Jealous, with the Rocket Barrage, things were looking potentially good for them. However, in the end, it was Singularity winning this one out, and now we'll be taking the lead 1-0.
And now, as we look forward over to Eichenwalde, we've seen Singularity on this map, I believe now twice. This is, you know, this kind of similar map pool that we've seen them play on. So they should be well rehearsed in this regard. Yes, they did lose their last matchup, but Snakes was a fantastic team. They are in the winners finals for a reason, up against Eagles, which I believe we'll see tomorrow. But I mean, still, this is a very solid team. They know how to run the 3-0-3. They know how to run 2-2-2. They are very proficient at everything that they pull out. I mean, everything that you see at a Singularity seems very well rehearsed. And in turn, it's very well executed. So as we see them take that first map over Koord Narwhals, I think things are going to get even more scary for Koord Narwhals. It's going to get even more tough. And I think, as we get into, possibly even Anubis, if we see Route 66, that's where I think Singularity starts really kind of pulling away from their competition here.
Because I really totally agree with the fact that they have looked at their best when it came down to it on those hybrid maps, on those escort maps for Singularity. And it was kind of up to Koord Narwhals to take that first lead through Ilios. But now we'll see if that will be the case for the second map, Eichenwald, coming up next. Singularity looking as strong as ever, already up 1-0 versus their opponents in Koord Narwhals. And now that we will be moving on to Eichenwald, I'm really curious to see what Koord Narwhals will do in terms of their approach. To be expected, would be jealous, of course, once again on that fair. I don't see why you wouldn't run it, especially in this matchup, why you wouldn't run him on that particular hero.
Yeah, I mean, in this matchup, yes, absolutely run the Pharah. I would even say go as far as running the Junkrat along with it, KSP on the Junkrat. Try everything you can to figure out a way to deal with the 303 because, as we said last time we saw Singularity, it's not a thought. It's not something that's likely. It's not something that's probable. It's something that will happen. They are going to bring the 303 without a doubt, and it's possible they bring a 2-1-3 at some stage, but I would say it's it's going to happen. 303 is coming your way. Definitely just be ready for it and find ways to start dealing with it right out of the gate. They might bring a 2-2-2 at some point, but start off 303 ready, maybe Farah Hansa, something like that.
And I think that's actually a really great point with the Junkrat in particular, because when they did swap to that, especially for KSP, it did look like they were coming together really well and even forced the likes of Obling to swap eventually to the Widowmaker, even the Tracer at the end, but more so because of the overtime and everything else. But now, as we will move on to Eichenwald, will be Koord Narwhals starting out on defense. And as you said, I will look to see that DPS lineup, again, looking to spam out that damage, charge up those ults, and get those picks.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you talk about, looking at a composition defensively for Koord Narwhals, that you're looking for something that's going to be able to deal with a lot of different things that's going to come your way. Yes, the 303 is like 99.999%, but they're going to just go ahead and fully invest. They're going to go exactly what we talked about, the Farah and the Hanzo together, or the Farah and the, Junkrat together. And Koord Narwhals working their way around, Singularity working their way around. Everything's mixed up for me right now. And we will see Singularity coming back into the point. They're going to be coming off of the high ground, forcing them to the other side of the objective where they can actually focus them in several different choke points. This might actually really work out for them. However, as they search through the choke points themselves, they're met by so much pressure. AoE to come out. Koord Narwhals closing things out behind KSP and Jealous, finding so much pressure.
But look at that, Obling managing to stay alive for such a long time really made things difficult for the defensive side. However, they should be able to regroup. No ticks will go through. And hey, it's understandable it got them mixed up. I mean, they pretty much swapped positions. It looked like they were attacking Koord Narwhals, that is. And now they will have that Rocket Barrage at the ready. Soon enough, KSP should be able to charge up his respective Riptire as well. Eyes are going to be on Obling to see whether or not he can keep up that performance on Zarya. Look to get that charge up and ready to go. It's going to be Emma Winston already out of the picture. Nerf claiming that kill. Rocket Barrage not really effective, and now under a lot of pressure, Koord Narwhals might be falling short here.
Mitigating the barrage is huge, but KSP might have a chance to get something done with the Riptire, but he's immediately eliminated. They looked right for him. Singularity with great target acquisition, able to run him down. Now there are no threats on the board at all. We see the rally come out as well. They will quickly take this point on their second attempt. It took them a while to get that first fight out of the way, but as they come back in a second time, much better execution this time around, and shutting down KSP, I think in the beginning of that was key to them taking that first point.
Most definitely, and we'll see Koord now make the adjustment over to the Winston instead. Definitely like it better for the second phase, especially with all the verticality you can really have on a map like Eichenwald. But as we'll see, Jealous still look for those angles, still look for the damage. KSP is at the ready, as said, with that Riptire, and now we'll look to be as effective as possible. On the other side, though, Obling will have that Graviton soon enough. Riptire does come out. We'll be extremely patient with it, waits it out, still looking for those members. It is gonna time out soon enough, though. He needs it and gets it in the end. Mono desperately running away, will not make it out.
What's so important about that, too, is not only did they kill off Mono, but they let that Riptire go for almost its entire duration, where we saw Singularity, a team that wants to engage quickly, a team that wants to get into the fights. They just sat around trying to kite it out and everything, and then they were waiting to engage, but now we see them go for it finally. As Jealous comes up over the top with the Rocket Barrage, he's trying to find the damage he needs, but it's gonna be Singularity coming out on top.
And now, even though the self-destructive return will find one onto Obling, we'll see whether or not they can get even more work done. In the meantime, Join Voice, please. Still holding on to that Valkyrie, could come through in the end. Emma Winston once more gets found out, and that is not what you're looking for if you're the defensive side here for Koord. As KSP will look to charge up that Riptire as soon as possible, drops down to contest, however, will eventually look to go down. No, he gets the T-suit for his trouble, so still managing to find quite a bit of damage. Should come back from spawn with that Riptire once again, potentially.
Obling on the Widowmaker does manage to get away from Koord for now, and they have so much support between these three for sure. And now it's going to be Obling finding Jealous, doing his job exactly as he needs to, finding the Mercy to follow up with it as well. 235 now as they just push along this bridge. There is almost no chance in them stopping unless this Riptire can get the job done. That comes up over the top, and it finds two.
Koord even barely manages to stay alive, but not for long. Mono, they claim that kill in the end, and as we will see, Nerf still swinging away. He does have the air shatter. However, with all of his other team members dying off, I don't see him going for it. We'll just go ahead and give up his life in the end. Obling forced to disengage as well. Joe's now onto that Tracer. Will be hot on his tail, but will not overcommit, and can't really blame him for that. But now, as we do have 1 minute and 57 seconds left on this attack, Singularity will have that rally available. We'll have the Earth Shatter, of course, still for Nerfed. But outside of that, not too much. And Emma Winston could be the answer here for Koord Narwhals with that all-too-important Transcendence.
All right, so looking forward into that next fight, you mentioned the Transcendence being, a solid answer. However, if the Earth Shatter does find the Zenyatta, if they can find a way to actually pick him off with the Widowmaker instead, that could be a massive opening for them to just finalize this second objective and then have a decent time to work with going into stage 3, where once things I think get a little bit more close quarters in that stage of the map, that's where I think things get really dangerous again. Singularity will have a better shot. It's the second stage where Singularity, I think, is going to falter the most because of the fact that they can be kited out. They can have so many angles being taken up against them. However, they've done a good job, I think, so far to be able to find where they are this fast.
And since we did see Koord Narwhals having to focus so much on that front line, Obling was somewhat left to his own devices. We'll find Jealous now, and as we will see the rest of Koord being pushed back towards their spawn. Only their frontline members only there to contest Koord. Still has that Primal Rage, might be forced to use it just to re-engage as Otter will get booped outside. We'll have him go through. Doesn't find the targets just yet as Obling still gonna get those heads.
That was actually as close to an ideal situation as you can get, to, without having an actually ideal situation, because they utilized a couple of their ultimates. They tried to get some, kills in there. They didn't really find them, but what they did get is tanks isolated away from the rest of their team. We already know, something about this composition is you need your tanks to be able to contest the point so that your DPS can get into position and actually find those kills, get those angles so that they can really start putting out the pressure. Because their tanks are already dead by the time they re-engage, Singularity easily won that fight, and now coming up around this corner, have to deal with this Riptire. This KSP is going to throw it out, get it around the corner, looking for some kills, and will find just Mono.
However, that might just be enough for them to push the opposition away, as they will look to stall as much time as possible. Jealous now on that Hanzo, looking for the damage. KSP finds another onto Linden. Any other late kills will be looking so good for Koord Narwhals, as they will look to continue on the pressure. Otter already at 41%, but Obling, having made the swap over to the Zarya himself, will look to contest just as well.
Now we'll see the self-destruct ready for both. Looking to send it up over the top. Earth Shatter ready for Nerf as he goes right in, gets behind him, and will lay them flat. This time, we'll see the Transcendence saving yet again, though.
A joint voice please does go down. Otter will fall too. The Earth Shatter coming out of Koord would be there, but it's going to be Nerf with the triple kill. Lind securing those final ones with the Coalescence too. Nobody available right now for Koord.
And look at Nerfed, already up at 90% after literally just using his Earth Shatter. Not even 20 seconds ago, he'll have that available again. They won't expect this one. He lays a couple flat there once again. Singularity now looking to finalize this map push as the Graviton comes down. As it comes up rather quickly as well, they will take the map, or not take the map, but they will conclude their attack and now go to defense. And Koord Narwhals looking to attack. They still have, a heck of a run ahead of them, because they're going to go up against one of the most aggressive defenses of any team in this bracket that's looking to contest the payload as often as possible, look to snipe away as much time as they can, and they've done well to do that against a lot of teams that I would say at the moment are slightly ahead of Koord Narwhals. So this is going to be a really tough one, I think. They really have to come together nicely to be able to take on this 3-0-3 that's coming their way.
And we saw, even as a matter of fact, yesterday, how much Snakes struggled against Singularity. This was one of those maps, as we previously talked about, that Singularity did win in that series. And now, as we will look to see what they bring to the table on defense. I would expect to run that brawl style once more. On offense, though, it's gonna be once again up to Jealous and KSP to really make things happen. Because so far, one of the glaring issues for Koord Narwhals on Eichenwald was their tanks having to go way too far away from the rest of the team. And Emma Winston, alongside Joy Fleas, a little bit too often the first ones to go out just because they were split so many a times.
Their tanks got, taken way out of the fight as well. We even saw that on the last fight of the second stage where, charging right in, Nerfed created some of the most space we've ever seen a tank make, threw everybody into the castle, left all their tanks behind, and was able to easily turn around and clean things up with the tanks in isolation. But look at this. To be expected, though, I guess, Singularity going with a different approach this time, still hiding out as we would expect, but this time going with a different place to do just that, as they're going to look to catch Koord Narwhals off guard. Around the corner, we'll see if they actually do spot them out. KSP has already gone down.
Instantly taken care of. Sonic Arrow wasn't quite at the right spot, and as a result, we already see the rest of Singularity push through, looking to waste even more time the rest of his team. But at the very least, on the other side, I do like this coming out of Jealous. This is something we talked about yesterday in particular on Eichenwald. If your team is gonna be just all like that, you want to push them back through the likes of Afera going on to the point.
Oh, Jealous. Oh, gonna get sniped out by Molp as well. As Singularity looking to close this out. They fall back, land at 52% towards the Coalescence. They need this now, as Obling has massive energy, will be able to dish out the damage for their team primarily, but still, a couple of these guys really low, and as Jealous comes back into the fight, this is gonna be a struggle to maintain.
We'll see if they can keep it up, because on the other side, Koord already at 70%, needs to be kept alive, but the rest of his team does get seduced just so with that projected buyer. Now Coalescence being the answer by Lin will be answered in return by Emma Winston's Transcendence. Graviton denied, and a big one at that. Otter unable to be successful with it, but it's going to be Koord with the Air Shatter and the Fire Strike Cleave to get both Lin and Obling down, and finally Koord Narwhals on the hunt will get another eventually in Fall and Molfig, and the point of that.
Massive play to deny the Graviton. It just wasn't quite enough. Obling at 94% wasn't able to turn the tides for them either, but absolutely expect them to come back from respawn and just jump right on top of them immediately. Try to get Obling's last 2% or so that he has to get left now, and throw that Graviton out, try to find value, get the wipe, and force them to play in that CQC of underneath that archway if they can.
But they're keeping Koord alive time and time again. They're supporting him so well, just left to press that W and left click constantly. But now, as we will see in the meantime, Emma Winston once again being taken out. The kills are still going to be going over for Koord Narwhals. They just need to finalize them as soon as possible, because this is the part of that second phase that we see a lot of teams struggle to push through when you're up against someone like Singularity.
They've just been struggling to execute the way that they would really like to, go up right away, be aggressive, throw out the Graviton, cleave onto it, get your Earth Shatter up, use it if necessary to continue the momentum. And now they're going to dive in, but still, look at all these angles being taken already.
We'll see the Rocket Barrage come out. Otter will find that kill onto Nerf. Koord, even with the charge, will secure another one onto Molfig eventually, as he will manage to stay alive, just hiding, disengaging. Even Jealous still already close to that halfway point towards another Rocket Barrage, and Singularity will fall. And this is pretty much, as said, I think the toughest part of that second phase, and now that things will be a bit more open with 5 ultimates online for Koord. While yes, Singularity has a lot of potential answers, it's still going to be pretty tough.
They have to start winning some fights here. I mean, if they want to be able to take this map and, further their lead right now. There's the Graviton coming out. Lin caught in it already. I mean, denied yet again, as Koord Narwhals are just surging ahead. This is insane. Koord Narwhals completely turning this series up on its head now, as they are looking poised to taking this next map. If they can continue this effort, they are looking very strong. I mean, they have shut this down completely. Singularity has been holding on to some of these same ults for so long and unable to pull them out.
And another big problem is KSP is going to be able to charge up that ultimate time and time again so fast. It's going to be the charge though to open it up. Shattered to lay a bunch of them flat. I do believe it was 4, and that just enabled Jealous to get all the kills, all the work. And now with that second point on the board, 3 minutes and 46 seconds. As you said, Hirix, now Koord Narwhals is definitely looking poised to potentially have this 1-to-1 map equalizer.
This team is playing so well together, and that's what's necessary to take this composition out, as Koord has been lighting it up. There's the Graviton finally going down. They do manage to get a couple of kills, so that's really all they need. They will finally win one of these fights and stop the motion of the payload that has been, I mean, almost incessant in the way that it's just been continuing through this map. And we see still a couple of options ready for Singularity. I mean, they need to turn this around if they want to get a stop here. 3 minutes, though, as Koord Narwhals hanging on to the same composition that has just been looking almost effortless in the way that they've been able to take these fights.
I think even with that loss, they're going to take it no problem. We'll force those resets or rather those ults. And now with 2 more in favor of Koord Narwhals, they're going to continue on forward, look for more. And it will be Molfix Suit going on the wayside. KSP finds the counter nerfed onto Lind at that as well. And they committed both of their support ultimates, but they kept everyone alive. They're going to be positioning themselves very aggressive. Look at Koord, the sneaky Reinhardt up from above. Could potentially single-handedly shut him down.
Oh, Koord gonna go right around. He will actually knock 2, actually just 1, but still finds the kill. As we see a lot of this team fight in favor of Koord Narwhals. They're just looking to take down Nerf. They find it. Soundbearer comes out, won't get many members of his team with it. Oh, KSP popping off. Had the Dragon Strike, didn't even need it. As Otter throws down the Grav to follow suit. And it's Koord Narwhals. And one of the best attacks versus a 3-0-3 that we've seen so far in this tournament. Look how much time they have more. I mean, a minute 21 doesn't seem like a lot, but when you talk about utilizing a 2-2-2 versus a 3-0-3, especially one from Singularity who, you know, already took it, I believe, against Bird Boys, if I'm not mistaken, where they, you know, head on with the 3-0-3. They came out on top. Still, Koord Narwhal is looking phenomenal with their own approach.
And phenomenal to say the least, because this is the map where we expected to be heavily favoring the side of Singularity. They've won against so many great teams at that on this particular type of map, and we've seen how oppressive they can really be, but this is the type of playstyle we really need to see teams adapt when up against that 3-0-3 composition. Just split their attention, just make sure you fire from all sides, and that's exactly what they did with Jealous on that Pharah, somewhat uncontested, especially during that second phase. We've seen KSP be extremely effective as well, and if they can keep up this performance, they definitely could potentially take us to that escort map at the very least.
All right, we'll see what they can make of this overtime here. As we see Singularity, they're up first, attacking with the 3-0-3 composition. I don't think anybody in chat should be surprised about this, but Singularity looking to get very aggressive here, looking to try to push their way in quickly as they take a little bit of damage already from Jealous, who's over the top, and already they find Fall once again.
Oh, and even Koord didn't get spotted out, so now he's hot on Mono's tail as we will see another kill go through. It's going to be on Molfik though. Obling looking to return fire with that beast onto Otter will make things a little bit more difficult for the defensive side right now, but we should still see so much damage coming through KSP and Jealous. We'll look to have both their respective ultimates online soon enough, and we all know how effective and impactful they can really be. As so far Fall coming out that Tracer, not gonna find too much, but Emma Winston does go down. We might just see Singularity find the kill.
Such an impressive charge from Nerf there. We see Obling generating up a ton of energy, getting ever closer to that Graviton Surge. That's gonna be so big in this next fight, as of course they will take this first objective and now have an overtime push ahead of them. Can they make it through that archway? That's gonna be a tough one, especially considering what they have in store for them. KSP and Jealous both holding on to these very oppressive ultimates. You know, Junkrat Tire, Barrage has been excellent so far from Jealous. You know, time and time again, he's been able to find tremendous value in that. I expect them to want to pull out both of them, you know, rather quickly. Without the Graviton quite ready, it's going to be very tough for them to get control in this fight.
Ooh, but the Tire sneaking gets away first, still looking for the targets, will be sniped by that Fire Strike. just point blank, and now Jealous finding one kill off the rocket barrage is not going to be quite enough. On the other side, the Graviton is at the ready for Singularity, and even though we see Koord commit that Primal Rage as well, it's going to be that Graviton coming online, finding the kills, and now it's going to be Koord Narwhals looking for the reset, looking for that regroup, because now Singularity will have a lot of distance being covered for themselves.
This Tracer swap has actually really worked out for Fall because he was able to completely take KSP out of that fight so that his tank line and his supports weren't taking any of that pressure. In fact, it was almost as if Junkrat was dead through that entire engagement. So really clever usage of that swap that they made earlier.
And now looking to re-engage. Can Koord Narwhals push this team away, because we do still have Nerf's Earth Shatter. We know how impactful that can really be. He actually tries to charge right as the self-destruct goes through. So now that might be exactly what Koord needs to push them away and make sure they halt them for now, especially with Obling eventually going down. Nobody left on that payload. Means that they will make the stop in the end through that second phase, but still, Singularity, quite a lot of distance covered off of that overtime push.
Absolutely, a ton of distance covered. I mean, they got it all the way up to that bridge. You can see that number, 102.75 meters. That's a heck of a push, especially considering they only had a minute to do that. So Koord Narwhals definitely have to fight here to be able to stay into this one. 2:21 is their time. 102.78 meters is the distance they need to cover after taking the first objective, if they can do that. However, we do see already the Junkrat and the Pharah coming out once again, it seems. And no surprise here, 3-0-3 from Singularity as they look to make that same approach defensively, this time hoping for a little bit better of a performance, I would say, from their defense, because, you know, as we saw the last time around, Koord Narwhals had no troubles dealing with it at all, and Singularity really struggled to actually even win a fight and take time off to the same degree that we saw them do already against, you know, a lot of different teams.
And it will be interesting to note whether or not this time around the positioning coming out of Singularity will be a bit more defensive. It seems like they will indeed not risk it too much, not play too aggressive, but if they don't get spotted out in that middle tower, underneath that tower, will still potentially be dangerous here for the attacking side of Koord Narwhals. But not having that Hanzo this time around, directly that Junkrat available for KSP, will be able to dish out a lot of damage. And look at that, they still didn't get spotted. Now finally Jealous smells that something is not quite right. Will get spotted out, manages to boost out, and now finding a kill onto Fall will signal the rest of his team to push on forward. Koord gets another onto Nerfed, and already things are looking dire for Singularity.
Fall has been the target over and over, and they've eliminated the Brigitte like every single time. And what that does is it really relieves a lot of pressure from Koord and Otter, where they don't have to deal with the Brigitte stunning them out and allowing Nerf to get some easy charges. So excellent play there, as Fall needs to, I mean, he needs to figure out why this is happening to him over and over, where the Pharah has been just ripping him to pieces at the beginning of every single engagement.
And now we will see them push on forward, play aggressive. It's going to be Koord with the massive Earth Shatter to secure yet another teamfight win. And an all too important one at that, because now, as we will see the team kill go through, all of Singularity push back towards their spawn. This is going to allow the rest of Koord to push through that archway to make sure they get that payload closer to that objective, and even with their positioning, we'll look to keep them right at their spawn.
Oh, look at Jealous. Look at his positioning here as he's over the top, looking for Fall. We'll find him yet again. Nerf goes down as well. And again, the barrage is the answer.
KSP finds another. In the meantime, Lynn does manage to find one kill onto Join Voice, please, but once more, it's been all about Koord Narwhals getting the advantages, getting the kills they need, and more importantly now, Otter has the Graviton. Emma Winston can answer with something like a Transcendence if Obling manages to find those last few percentages, and it's gonna be a swap out of Singularity. Fall this time onto that Widowmaker. Will look to at the very least contest that all too important Pharah, so we'll look to collapse on top of that point, but gets blocked. Earth Shatter not gonna be there for Nerf, but the kills are still there, but KSP as well finds two with the Riptire. Coalescence still there. We might just see Koord out sustain as KSP finds another, but the self-destruct just a back and forth consistently will let only 2 members of Koord, but another Earth Shatter being charged by Koord. Can this buy enough time? Emma Winston falls. Koord needs to get back onto the payload. Charges through. Will manage to do just so, but Mono with a double kill of his own is going to potentially secure the win for Singularity.
Oh, and KSP can't get past the Graviton as everybody else fell off the map. Singularity make the stop. And again, an impressive self-destruct saves the day by Mulf once again. I mean, we saw it yesterday. We see it again today. How, you know, on Ilios, he did the exact same thing, allowed them to take a map. I believe it was Ruins. And now finally doing the same thing here. This time actually secures an entire map for them rather than just a round.
And it was so important because this is, again, the type of map we expected Singularity to really make sure they get the lead in the series. And now that they are at match point, this is where Koord Narwhals really need to strike back. And this is one of the type of maps that they can really do just so, right? Assault has been looking, at the very least, better. But considering their performance on Eichenwald, they now definitely stand a chance for that potential reverse sweep.
And we already, you know, when you look back at the tournament, right? When you look back at the beginning, when you talk about what we're going to be expecting, you know, especially in regards to compositions, that 303 was something that I think everybody was a little bit afraid of. How are we going to deal with that? Are we going to see it? Who's going to run it? Yes, we have those answers now, but how are we going to deal with it is still one of those question marks. I think it's slowly being kind of answered over time. Teams are figuring out what compositions run well against it, what kind of weaknesses that the 303 actually has. And on top of that, and I think more important, what kind of stylistic difference are going to be necessary to take on primarily from the tank line to be able to start answering this composition. And we're starting to see that now a little bit. We saw it first, I believe, from, you know, Christopher and Heiko, a little bit on the EU side of things. And then now other teams are, you know, coming together with it as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we're going to get out of some of these teams, especially like Koord Narwhals, through the rest of this series.
And we'll see if said reverse sweep can really happen, because coming up next will be Anubis. Singularity couldn't get close, but still managed to find that win on that Eichenwald. And now that they are up at match point, we do have to see Koord Narwhals really step things up even further.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where we start seeing maybe some different looks actually from Singularity, where we're going to maybe start seeing a 2-2-2 that could come out. We saw a couple of glimpses of some different looks, especially as Fall made a swap himself. And I think that was a good swap to make too, because when you talk about the performance that they've had against Koord Narwhals, especially against the Pharah, you're obviously going to start looking at the Brigitte. You're going to start looking at why Fall was falling all the time in some of these engagements right away. I mean, they had a 5v6 disadvantage in so many of these fights because they were out of the Brigitte almost immediately. So make a swap. Tracer actually worked out for them quite well. The Widow, not as much, but didn't really have too many opportunities with that one. So I'm looking forward to seeing possibly a 2-2-2 here. And as we go into the game, it looks like that's exactly what we're going to get once again from Singularity.
It's the double sniper composition. Obling looking to, or rather was looking to set up a couple of early picks potentially with the use of that barrier coming at a nerf. However, will still be kept safe by the rest of his team. Fall will manage to find that first blood. Emma Winston again, the first one to fall here for Koord Narwhals, and now we'll have the resurrect come through, but this is gonna signal the rest of the team to push on forward. In the meantime though, Jealous gets one out to Lind.
Oh, he was up there, up in a bird's nest, basically, as he was able to find that first kill. He's going to be spotted out, though, has the Sonic Air on him, too, and he's going to carry that with him, so they could find that kill later on, but won't do that just yet, as they do manage to get away, and it's going to be Jealous and KSP coming together in a big way.
And what a way at that, too. Triple kill for Jealous. And with the KSP on his side as well, they managed to take out both Emma Winston and Joint Voice Please, or rather, on the other side, managing to take down Lind and Mana relatively quickly to make sure that fight did go their way. And now, moving on to that second point, Otter still on that. Zarya will look to set up Jealous with that combo. So I'm curious to see whether or not he's going to stick with it and wait for the combo, or if he's going to open up things with it.
All right, Dragon Strike, the thing to look at, as you said, and now we'll see KSP actually going over to the Junkrat. Otter already at 80%. They could just rush the point here, allow KSP to get some charge and possibly use that after the Graviton comes down. But Koord already taking some pressure. They have not been able to battle their way in just yet, waiting for that Dragon Strike to kind of grant them access.
Or maybe potentially waiting on Otter right now, as he does have that Graviton, unleashes it. However, in the meantime, KSP did go down Dragon Strike to follow 2 kills in favor of the attacking side. Now Koord looking for more. It's going to be Jealous, securing one more onto Molfig with the Coalescence being available. Lind cannot use anything else to really disengage for now instead of just walking backwards. And now Koord taking another one. We'll have the air shot available, sets 2 of them down. Jealous will have an easy time securing kills. In the meantime, though, on the other side, we do see the self-destruct being blocked by Molfig. Not as successful this time on their defense. The Riptire will come out as well, and it's all about Koord now getting 2 ticks on the board, looking for the third.
Oh, the Graviton comes down. They can find kills. They have them pretty low. They're actually going to get them. 3, make it 5 already. And they somehow stall long enough for Obling to get one of the most valuable Gravitons they will have in this tournament. Obling with fantastic placement there as well. They battle back in there. So 5 minutes now. 2 ticks already on the board for Koord Narwhals. Certainly looking poised to take this second objective, but that was a massive shift in momentum quickly in that fight.
And we'll see even Fall now onto the Junkrat, interestingly enough, on the defensive side. Nerf does have the air shadow, but being under a lot of pressure, we might have Mono forced to use that sound barrier relatively early on the other side. Look at Otter already charging up another Graviton. He unleashes it, and the sound barrier is the answer, but the Dragon Strike is there. Can find the kills. He finds 3. Jealous also with a big, valuable combo there for his team. And now with the third ticket going live, we'll have 4 minutes and 26 seconds left on that timer for Koord Narwhals.
We already saw Singularity take a couple of picks there, but that Graviton was just so well placed to back in with the Dragon Strike as well. That classic combination that we've been seeing for well over a year now, starting off, I think, historically on King's Row, and then, you know, still being just as impressive here today. Koord Narwhals. 426, man. That's a good time. Singularity. I mean, this is like, a similar situation to what we could have seen from Eichenwald, where, Singularity just didn't play as well on the defensive side. They were falling short a lot on some of the coordination, some of the ult usage from Koord Narwhals, but they were able to battle back and they were able to get the last map. We'll have to see if they can do the same thing here. It's going to be very rough. 426 is a fantastic time to start with if you're Koord Narwhals.
And I'm curious to see if this is going to be Singularity actually running that full dive. So we'll have Fall and Obling on Genji and Tracer respectively. Might be the case, so we'll be curious to note how that one pans out. In the meantime, though, on the other side, we'll have potentially the double sniper come through once again. And when you have members like Jealous performing like that, I mean, why not, right?
Interesting, though. I'm actually curious to see if we're actually going to get this set up with the dive. Tracer Genji coming right on out here, as Obling will be on the Tracer, or sorry, the Genji and Fall will be on the Tracer to start this fight off, going right up into a double sniper composition that's being displayed here by Koord Narwhals. This could prove very effective against this composition, provided they get into position quickly enough so that they can converge on a single point and really kind of provide a lot of instant front-loaded damage onto someone and get that early advantage, get that early lead that this composition is built for and needs to be able to win fights.
And we'll see how effective they can really play this one out, as Nerf already is going to be dropping extremely low. Being damage boosted, KSP does find his head, and will force the rest of the team to play a little bit more passively for now. Obling ulted out, will still stick with the rest of his team. We'll look to see him potentially go for those flanks eventually, especially since the rest of the defensive side now set up on high. Only those tanks contesting alongside that Zenyatta for now. Obling looking for those angles, will be just diving right in, but Emma Winston does have his number.
Obling gets res back up though, so Singularity does have that advantage. Otter falling back now as they put pressure onto the Mercy. Look at all these members of Koord Narwhals falling though, as they have no HP to deal with any of this. Singularity all over the point will be able to take this down, and they have now, a massive amount of time in their time bank to push into this second point, and they used nothing in that first fight to accomplish what they've done. So trying to get this blade online, trying to find value in the pulse bomb, that's what we're looking for from Singularity, to be able to try to match this time set by Koord.
And I like this. I was about to comment on how I really wanted a Brigitte out of the defensive side here for Koord Narwhals, and Jealous does go through with that particular pick in the end, as on the other side, of course, Fall can wait on this side, does have the pulse bomb, who's going to be the unlucky, unfortunate target. As still doesn't get spotted out, tries to go in, goes for the sticky, but the blade was popped as well. Obling finding that first kill. Now both supports make that the third one as well, going out here for the defensive side of Koord Narwhals. Will look to have Singularity push through, get kill after kill, and now it's 6 minutes and 5 seconds. Could potentially get that objective too.
Oh, here's the Doomfist coming around the corner, rolling in, will be immediately ripped down as Singularity look to not only try to equalize, but actually beat by quite a wide margin the time set by Koord Narwhals. And now it'll be another opportunity for Koord to come back in for round 2.
However, with so much time, they're being more effective in the way of Singularity. We'll look to see them potentially still go back and forth and bring us to that 6 point maybe. Looking a bit too far forward though, as the defensive side here for Koord Narwhals, while yes, they can definitely, or have definitely done pretty well to start, overall it still was Obling finding the kills after the res alongside Fall, who was for the most part uncontested on the Tracer. So we will be swapping sides this time. KSP still on that Widowmaker, and what do you take about that composition of Koord?
Well, with Koord, I imagine that they're going to want to bring out the Hanzo because, that combination between those two, running the double sniper, but especially the Hanzo and the Zarya together, is what allowed them to unlock that second objective. I mean, without that, they wouldn't have got that point. They were losing that fight and shifted the momentum because of that combination. They were able to find the kills that they needed to start coming and pushing forward once again, with, I believe, a quad kill on it. So Not surprised to see him on this. I definitely feel like it's a pretty solid option, but you need to make sure that you're coming together with your combos to be able to lock this out. And something that Singularity has not looked so good with is just, really kind of denying their enemy team's ultimate usage. Making sure that you're getting away from some of these Graviton Surges, just allowing some of this high value to come out from a lot of these different things, and they're just taking advantage of that right now.
We'll find those shots. Obling definitely dishing out way more than his opponent for now. As he gets another onto Jealous. Was definitely becoming the MVP of this round so far. Still having that infraside at the ready will spot out the opposition too, and this will signal the rest of Koord to make a few adjustments. I did like their approach with Otter on that Zarya. Could definitely see how well they snowballed into that second point, but if you're already having trouble taking this first, we'll see them now go through with the dive.
Oh, and yanking the Zenyatta, he's not going to be able to get around that corner, so if they kind of wait this out and they have the infrasight available to do that, they could catch him as he comes around and possibly find an easy pick onto an exposed healer in the backline, and they do just that.
And even Koord being taken out means that the rest of the team will be forced to regroup once again. Even Singularity is able to position themselves right back in their face, make sure they stall this one out as long as possible. 2 minutes and 55 seconds left on the clock though, so still a lot of time for the attacking side. Dragon Strike at the ready for fall means that we'll look to angle it in that small room potentially.
Now as we see them go for this next approach, Dragon Strike available for fall, that's going to be probably devastating for them, as if they get any kind of headway, if they jump on anyone, they could easily just send them packing. As the Dragon Strike does come out, Fall waiting for his opportunity, waiting for everybody to converge on 1 point so he can find the value with this ultimate, and they're going to jump right on top of him. He's going to throw it out right on top of them as well, but won't find the value. Jealous turns around, finds the kill, and now he's stuck on the point. It's going to be nerfed, falling low, falling down completely as the res looking to come out from Mono. He will secure it.
We'll have Jealous though, still looking for those kills, especially after the Transcendence will time out. Lin, did he go ahead and use it? We'll have it go through in the end. Mofik's gonna find 2 more kills. Jealous looking desperately for something as Koord finds Lin. Now might be an opening with the blade, but it's gonna be Obling finding the kills instead. Still on fire on that Widowmaker, and now as they will look to push their opponents away, it's gonna be again up to Jealous to be the big factor for Koord.
When he pulls out the blade, look to see how Singularity controls him, because if they actually pulled the halt out here, they could easily yank him back, take away one of his swift strikes, and then without the ability to find a kill quickly with the blade, they could just kite him out, force the deflect out, and then take the kill pretty quickly. So if they can find that, or even just a random headshot from one of their snipers to take him out quickly, that could easily take that out of the equation.
Sound very committed here by the attacking side. The blade will come. Fall does go down the pulse bomb as well. So it is going to be the DPS lineup of Koord coming alive. In the meantime, Mofik does find one onto Juz, but the member advantage indefinite position here for Koord. Narwhals looking to get that first objective on the board, but 50 seconds now left on that timer. Not gonna have too much to work with on that second point, and now as we do see the swaps coming in here for Singularity, I'm curious to watch what Koord will do themselves.
Yeah, they don't have the ultimates to push, just push right into this. So I expect some changes to be made here, and that's exactly what's gonna happen. They're gonna go ahead with their version of the counter as they bring in Koord actually on a Reinhardt without the Zarya. He's going to go with the Diva. He has self-destruct there, so that might, be a major factor into why that is. And again, Fall goes down on the Brigitte.
Time and time again, he has been found out, but now that the Resurrect is there, Transcendence was committed by Emma Winston. We'll see Koord surge forward, look for even more kills, even more on this objective. At the very least, 1 tick or something on the board as Joint Voice Please gonna die. Mofik finds another kill, this time onto that Reinhardt, and it will be all about Singularity. Now down to 22 seconds here for Koord Narwhals.
22 seconds, not a lot of time to get back in there, especially as they deny your Diva. Otter will have to find some way to get back. There's only 10 seconds left. They finally do kill him, so now it's going to be a desperate attempt to make their way into the point, as we will see it's gonna be Koord charging in, trying to make his way. He gets taken out, and nobody, actually someone does get there, and it's Jealous. He does find Fall again. Despite everybody looking for him, he still manages to kill the Burrito. Gets res back up. That's gonna be it. 5:54 in the clock now, though, for Singularity to be able to push in for that first point and get 33% towards the second. If they do that, Koord Narwhals will be out of the tournament and Singularity will move forward.
Definitely looking in a really good spot right now with so much time available. I would expect to see once again that dive composition running themselves up for Singularity, as Obling alongside Fall on those two heroes have been really strong. While yes, we've praised Singularity for that 3-0-3 composition, they've definitely proven that it can play much more too.
I really like the dive style too. It worked out well for them, and they were able to, you know, keep that snowball rolling into point B, make that quick take happen. As we see them go in for round 2, Koord Narwhals need to figure out a way to deal with it, because there's a ton of different looks that they could take right here. I mean, Singularity could push in with the 2-2-2 full dive straight up with Tracer Genji once again, which is obviously, as we can see, very likely to happen. But they don't know that. They know that it could be that. It could be a 3-0-3. It could be a 2-1-3 with Obling bringing out the solo sniper as they push into the point. I mean, there's so many different things that they have to kind of take into account here that it's going to be very difficult for them to find one thing that might answer everything. So they're going to go with the double sniper. It's going to be a reactive dive. This is something that can answer a lot of things, but it's still going to have trouble controlling on the point, especially if they lose high ground control with their snipers.
And we'll see how effective they can really be with those double snipers. Jealous once more alongside KSP need to be the ones to look out for, the ones that really come alive here on this first point defense. Scouting out the opposition, Obling will look to set himself up for a flank. It's gonna be KSP though, getting that first blood, and with Fall now not alive, or rather not in the team fight potentially coming up here. We'll see the rest of Singularity just staying grouped up, making sure they are alive and safe as Fall does come back from spawn.
And he's going to come back in just as Obling actually is sneaking his way into the back line. I don't think anybody sees him just yet. They know he's back there, but they don't know exactly where. And finally, Emma Winston probably did just find him. They jump on Obling. He jumps up top. Now in danger a little bit. Going to need some healing as Nerf already fell. And Koord Narwhals going to be able to get this job done for sure.
Emma Winston will find another. It's going to be KSP getting Lin there at the end. Pops the infra side too. We'll have that information. We'll spot out Fall, who's still waiting, still in the back line. Finally might go down as he's pushing the rest of the team away. And the interesting thing is Singularity know they can't really overcommit. They already need to regroup, already position themselves. Obling, we dropping pretty low. It's gonna be KSP finding another kill onto Lin.
He's been giving them so many advantages in all of these fights where he gets the first pick. You know, first we saw Foul, we just saw Lin go down as well. Jealous and KSP on this double sniper have been insane together to be able to find the picks and allow for a lot of this time to already be weaned off the clock.
The blade should be coming online for Obling soon enough. Whereas on the other side, Emma Winston, if he is not forced to use the Transcendence early, could have that as an answer. Could look to, once again, keep things in their favor. The Dragon Strike will be popped, looking to push the opposition away. The meantime, though, it's Lin finding KSP, and without that Widowmaker, the Resurrect is not quite there just yet. And that might be the room they needed, as Emma Winston will go down as well. Obling dashing left and right, getting kill after kill. First stick almost already on the board here for Singularity.
And they're going to have to dive into that back corner, put the pressure onto Emma Winston quickly, and then disengage if they can back to their healers, pull the fight back, and then re-engage with the blade, or try to kill Emma Winston in one fell swoop. I mean, it has to be one or the other, or else Emma Winston will stave off this attack almost single-handedly with the Transcendence alone.
And we'll see KSP look to contest with the traits of his own. However, Fall in the meantime did manage to charge up his pulse bomb. We'll look for this target. Tries to go for that Mercy, doesn't get it. And then as a result, we'll see Lin picking up Jealous, and without that Dragon Strike being available anytime soon. And we'll see Valkyrie being popped by John Fleas, looking to keep the rest of the members alive, but the blade is still at the ready for Obling. No Emma Winston inside. Looks for the Mercy. Tries to get him out of the sky. Doesn't get it in the end, and won't be as effective as a result.
Yeah, we saw Oberlin go for a flashy blade. Didn't really get that in the end, though, as Nerf is going into the back line looking for Emma Winston. Will find that kill, but everybody else on his team is falling around him. Singularity looks like they will not be getting it done here. Not just yet, however. They're sticking into this fight, but not for very much longer. As Molf dies, Mono goes down as well. Remember, they only need 33%, so this is possibly where they just say, hey, let's go 3-0-3. Let's just walk into the point and see if we can get control very early on. Just enough to secure that 33% against a full dive. And now we're going to see, I believe, Jealous make the swap over to the Junkrat here. That's typically played by KSP, and the Tracer still being in play by KSP.
We'll see them have that pulse bomb potentially to shut this push out. It's going to be onto Nerf. We'll take a little bit of AoE damage onto that suit as well. And as a result, Molfik will be losing it for his troubles. But Otter does have that self-destruct, does go down. We'll have Join Voice Police come back in with the Resurrect, looking to keep this one alive. But in the meantime, Jealous will fall. Emma Winston needs to get this Transcendence at the ready. But the number advantage in definite favor of Singularity.
Obling so high on energy right now, looking to put the pressure out. They only need to find these tank kills if they can, because that's exactly what's going to open up the site for them, allow them to keep putting that pressure on. He's already at 70%. Now going to be just beaming into Otter, and if he can do that, he can actually get his Graviton out, and they're still hanging on. Look at the healing coming out as the rally falls out. We also see the sound barrier going through as well. Tyre not going to get it done at all. Singularity might be able to do it right here. Look at all this healing, look at all this support. Graviton finally comes down, groups them all up. The self-destruct is, I mean, honestly, even a little bit too late, and they get it. Singularity with a 3-0 series take over Koord Narwhals.
And they will advance through the losers bracket to fight off against either CIS Hope or Northern Lights. Definitely looking still as hot as ever, and there's a good reason why they made it so far through the winners bracket. Even Snakes had a lot of trouble when it came down to it in terms of dealing with them overall, but still well played by Koord Narwhals to make it all the way through till this point. Some better plays, especially when compared to their performance throughout the tournament.
Yeah, especially when you look at how they started too. I mean, they definitely were developed